Author and co-founder of Diverse Environmental Leaders Speakers Bureau, Audrey Wright Peterman grew up sitting on the banks of her gully in Summerfield, Clarendon, which led to her love for nature. She joins us via Zoom to share with us how this impacted her career, advocating for the protection of the environment. Good day, Audrey. How are you?
I am magnificent. How are you today?
Oh, I'm quite fine, and I'm so happy that you said you're magnificent. That kind of makes me feel super good too. So,
I'm all about feeling good.
all right, great. Now, you are the author and co-founder of Diverse Environmental Leaders Speakers Bureau. That's quite a mouthful, and I guess it's all a part of your love for the environment and your career as an environmentalist. What led you in this direction?
So I married the most wonderful man in the world. His name is Frank. It's been 30 years and I'm still madly in love with him. And he suggested we drive around the United States and go to places like the Grand Canyon that we had only ever heard of, And he said millions of people come from all over the world to see these places. And we live here and can drive to them because we were living in Florida in the US. And so we drove around the entire country in our Ford truck and went to places like the Grand Canyon and Yellowstone and Yosemite. And I have to tell you, I did not know there was so much beauty on earth. There were places that we were standing where I thought I must have died and gone to heaven because it could not possibly be the same earth I walked on every day. And then we didn't see any Black people in the parks from coast to coast. So Frank and I decided that we would do something about that, just as we had not really known that there was a whole system of national parks around the country and just kind of stumbled onto it, We decided that we would make a point of letting all Americans know, particularly Black and brown Americans, who, as I said, were the ones who were missing from the picture.
Right. Now, describe that journey to getting to starting the Speakers Bureau. I mean, what are some of the big lessons you would have learned, about how we treat the environment, and how about Black Americans really taking a good look and care of the environment in the U.S.?
Well, the environmental sector in the United States has been around for 100 years, right? And when Frank and I got involved in the 1990s, we were very surprised to find how little effort the mainstream white environmental movement had put into engaging with Black and brown people. And so we decided that we would do that. And in the process of our work to try to write, to take people out into the parks, we encountered a number of other Black and brown environmentalists. And we decided to start a one-stop shop so that if an environmental organization was looking to hire a Black or brown person who was an environmentalist, who was a climate specialist or, a specialist in green energy, an outdoor specialist, a mountaineer, whatever, a birder. We had all of those people. So I called 50 of my closest friends and asked them, would they join us as part of the Speakers Bureau? And 49 of them said yes.
Yeah, wow, that's amazing. 50 of your closest friends and 49
Yes.
Agreed to join.
Yes.
How has the community grown since then?
It has grown tremendously. I keep getting inquiries from people who want to become part of the Speakers Bureau. But unfortunately, at this point, if you can believe this, we have more speakers than we have work. Because while the environmental sector is growing, and certainly Black people are putting ourselves into the picture, doing what needs to be done, there is not really that much of a call, a requirement, a request for speakers. But we continue to push forward because I was speaking with my girlfriend yesterday who was reading my first book. And she said, my God, you've been doing this since 1995. I was in my 20s and now I'm in my 50s and you're still doing it. And, the response has been substantial, but it's still not anywhere near where it needs to be.
And as you mentioned, book, right? I've taken a look, started to read through your From My Jamaican Gully to the World and Back.
Yes.
So we're talking from Summerfield to the world and back.
Yes.
Just
Yes.
share with us, the experiences which helped you to pen this work.
Well, I will tell you my most, the one that means the most to me was the first national park that I ever went to was in Maine. It's called Acadia National Park. And as we drove into Maine, we had been driving for days and had not seen any of the black people because it's a predominantly white state. And we got to this place, right? And there was this huge rock mountain jutting up into the sky. And at the base was a forest. So it looked like a hula dancer. And as Frank was driving our big Ford truck around and up and up and up, I suddenly realized that the clouds were below me and we're still going up.
Yeah.
And when we got to the top of the mountain and I got out of the truck and looked around, that's the first time I felt like I died and gone to heaven. Because all around me, all I could see was beauty. There was the ocean on one side, and then there was like a lagoon on the other side with trees and water. And then the sun was pouring down on it and turning the water into gold. And I thought, oh my God, the same entity that made all of that made me. And so as that is beautiful and perfect, I must be beautiful and perfect too. And so I said that I fell in love with myself on top of Cadillac Mountain, but I didn't just fall in love with myself. I fell in love with all of creation. I felt like I was so infinitesimal and small, and yet I was part of everything. So every day I walk down the street feeling wonderful and feeling grateful to be part of everything. And I wanted other people to have that experience, that feeling of belonging and being part of something so wonderful.
Yeah.
God's creation, untouched by human hand. And so I wrote the book to share my efforts to get that message out.
Do you think that through reading the book and just generally having an experience like you had on Cadillac Mountain is something that can really help people to appreciate the environment more and be more cautious about how we treat it?
I absolutely am convinced of that. And since I've been home, I've been working to help our Blue and John Crow Mountains National Park, to become to become better known and appreciated among Jamaicans. One of the things I found out was that park, right? It's not just a national park, but it's also a World Heritage Site.
It is.
And as a World Heritage Site, that means it is significant to all of humanity, to the entire history of man. And further than that, I found out through just a little research that there are 1,157 World Heritage Sites in the world. And we're in the top 39. Can you imagine that?
That's amazing.
And hardly anybody knows this.
Yeah. But
Well, one more thing I have to tell you. When you go up to the mountain, up to the park, and there's a cloud forest going by, it gets the mist or misty. Well, only 2.5% of all the tropical forests on Earth have that. And we have it,
Wow.
So it's really a very big deal.
It absolutely is. Listen, Audrey, we could speak for days, but unfortunately, we've got to run. Thank you so much for penning this work and also for your career as an environmentalist. Happy Earth Day, and I hope that you will just continue doing amazing things. So,
bless you. I appreciate you so much. Thank you.
You're most welcome. That's author and co-founder of Diverse Environmental Leaders Speakers Bureau, Audrey Wright Peterman. We'll soon come back with more Weekend Smile.